How to Hi everybody. So today I have a presentation for you on how to track floods using satellite images and some insights from social media. It is quite similar to the previous presentation, I'd say, similar to like tracking wildfires, because we'll be using the same tools and the same methods. So that will be the case. And let me start screen sharing. And yeah, the first thing I'm going to say is that with the climate change, we're seeing more natural disasters. It includes both wildfires and floods. So I've checked, I've made like 3 flood stories in the past year, it turns out, in Kazakhstan, in Russia, in China, and they're getting more frequent and more devastating too, I'd say. Oh, I've also looked into India and Pakistan, I forgot. So yeah, what can you do with open sources? Will be the topic of this presentation. Just to remind you that my work involves only working with open sources, so with the publicly available information that I usually find in the internet. But if you're a journalist or researchers, you can also use traditional methods too. You can call government officials, you can call the state's emergency services and ask for the information. You can go there on the field, take your own photos, videos, ask, like, interview people, and etc. All of these are great sources for information, but the one I'm going to focus on today is open sources. Why? Because it's publicly available. You don't have to be, like, if a flood happens in Kyrgyzstan, you don't have to be in Kyrgyzstan. You don't need to be calling people if that's something you're not good at. I'm not good at that. And you're just sitting at your desk, looking in your computer and getting all of this information. So that's what we're going to do now. So usually how the research starts is by reading an article or reading the news that the like massive rainfall or glaciers melting or for some other reason extreme floods have happened. And the thing I do, the first I check like what the other medias have published, because satellite images are getting more popular among journalists, more and more researchers are using them. And I check if it's like this open source area has already been explored. If not, I'll start looking at what I can find via satellite images. Again, satellite images for big natural disasters as floods is a very good tool to use, because since the floods, fires, they have a huge impact and they are just massive, you can't see them from the satellite, even if it's a satellite with images on the lower quality side. And yeah, and some of them will get updated every few days. So it gives you a nice overview of the damage that has happened. So the ones I'm going to talk about is similar to the last presentation, is Copernicus, and a little bit of Planet and Google Earth Pro. So let's start with Copernicus. Again, if you remember, it's a satellite image provider that is completely free. It's funded by EU, so it has a stable funding, and it has a massive amount, a crazy amount of images from every few days. So here's an example of a flood in China that happened in July this year. So basically, before and after, you can see that this town that used to have like green fields and has completely turned brown, and the water too. So the river that's over here, it wasn't as big, but when the floods happened, it turned just to this brown color. So this one, the first thing I would remind you is that when floods happen, you don't see them in like bright blue color. Like I would expect them when I just started researching floods that it would be like this blue color as in here in the bottom. But usually they're the brownish color because it gets mixed with earth, and yeah, and it gives you this color that sometimes will be difficult to differentiate between Earth itself, okay? So here it's easier because all the other fields are green. But for example, if you would be looking into the streets are already here, like in this gray colorish, that can be a little bit difficult to differentiate. So, and here is an example from Planet. Planet is a paid provider, quite pricey, costs around like 2,000 euros per month. And the difference here is that this one is a little bit of a higher quality. But as you can see here, like even though the quality is like significantly higher, I think this one's around like 10 meters per pixel, and this one is around 3. So it's like 3 times better. Like it doesn't really matter. If you're looking into the floods, the quality, like that quality will not matter because you can still see that, yeah, all of this here has been flooded and other things like that. What you can see is the individual houses right here. So then maybe it will be a little bit better to look at it. So I'm going to send you a link now, and can you just click it and play around with it? I've sent you 2 links on Copernicus. Can you just click on them and tell me what you see?
Did you share with us Copernicus with 2 different
Bands.
yes, one is true color, the other is the false color.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so from the false color, we can identify all the water around the city that was full of water.
Yeah, exactly. So you can clearly see the edges of where the flood ends, right? Sorry about the noise. But yeah, so that's the great thing about the Copernicus, that you can see the difference between the Earth and the water itself quite nicely. So now take a second and just click around other bands and yeah, tell me which difference you see. Like maybe there is another one that's more useful to you. Alrighty. So basically, if you click around, you'll see like this highly optimized color, NDVI. If you want to learn more about them, you can just click this expand button and see basically what it does. So NDVI is great for the vegetation. If you're looking at the deforestation, this one's perfect because it really looks like at vegetations. And if you compare it from a year, how this forest looked like, and nowadays you might see maybe that the very greenish parts became more yellowish, and from there you can see that it might be an evidence of deforestation. There's some other cool ones, and there's this one called NDSI, Normalized Difference Snow Index. So I think that was it you who asked the last time about a band that would differentiate between snow and clouds. I think yeah, there was a question about that, and turns out there is specifically a band for that. So here's NDSI. And this is one is useful is because if I go back to this one, for example, to March, you can see there's a lot of snow, and I don't know, like here is a cloud, but someone might think it's a snow. And for that one, like this NDSI is quite useful because it will give you like exact, again, edges of a cloud versus a snow. Why? Because they absorb infrared lights like differently and visible light too. And that's how they are able to differentiate it. So going back to our example, so this is a city of Orsk in Russia. Also suffered a big floods in April last year once the snow has melted from the mountains and filled in the rivers. Like a huge flood has happened. And if you zoom in, you can basically see that the whole town was under the water. If you're looking for the first time at the satellite images, it might be a little bit difficult to understand what's going on. So here, one thing I would advise is getting rid of labels, all of the streets. So if I click here on the labels, all of the streets will disappear and I can just focus on the image itself. So you can see all of this like squares of red, blue, blah, blah. It's all of this are roofs. And again, if I go back in time, it's all white, so it's snowy. And here it's all underwater. Again, might be difficult to see it, but maybe if you click on the later dates. So here, for example, yeah, this one I think is good. So this one is not underwater. You can see the river here quite clearly. There's vegetation and the streets look like streets. Again, if you're looking at it for the first time, maybe a little bit difficult to differentiate between what is flat and what is not. But yeah, this is what the vegetation would look like. And if I click on the false color, you can see the river clearly here. Or if I do, yeah, basically click around. So in DWI, you can see water being blue here. So, but if I would go back to April 18, what was the date? Yes, April 11. You can see that, yes, all of this blue is inside the town too, and all around here. So all of the streets are filled with water. So that's the thing about Sentinel. It's very nice because with the bands, you can understand that this little town was underwater, but this town was not, and everything in between was underwater. So again, bands make it really nice to differentiate. And how they work is that, again, the satellites, when they take an image, they process an image in the way that in how humans would see it. So here, that's how you would see this roof, red color. This is how you would see like this muddy river, etc. But satellites also send infrared lights, which give you more info on what's happened there. We as humans, we don't see infrared, but with this bands that also look at infrared, it can give you more of a story. So here, like it can differentiate between water, between a cloud, between earth, between vegetation, etc. So it makes it quite neat. So Copernicus is nice. Again, how to use it. On the top right, you would put in the city name or coordinates. So let's see. I think this is Kazakhstan, right? Petropavl. Yeah, so if I'm looking at Petropavl, I would just put in Petropavl, or I would give coordinates because, again, maybe there are a lot of Petropavls. So to get coordinates, I right-click on Google Maps, click it, search for it, or let me do it from the beginning so you know how to do it. Again, you put in your coordinates. You have to click this button under the search. I can see Petropavl. It's too far, so I'm going to zoom in on the bottom right. And then click on the calendar. So unless you click on the calendar, you won't see it. So they had floods, was it last year in April? See? And then you can see it. Okay, that's how it goes. Again, a great thing about Copernicus, it takes images every few days. So all these gray boxes have an image, but the ones that are in the framed in blue, they're without clouds. Okay, so for example, if I would click on number 4, all I would see is almost clouds. But let me check the NDSI would tell me anything. Yeah, NDSI shows you clouds quite clearly, and the not clouds part too. But anyway, some images will be very cloudy and will be very, very unuseful to you, okay? So just keep in mind that. But again, like looking here, I can see every 2 to 3 days, Copernicus has taken images, so that's nice. Another tool I'd say is Google Earth Pro. So I'll send you a link. So here's a tool. You've heard about Google Maps, but Google Earth is the one that gives you historical images and just lots of other tools. So to access Google Earth, yes, you can just go to this website and start searching. So here I'm going to put the coordinates of Petropavlsk in Kazakhstan. Or let me just show you how it looks like. Let me go to Almaty. The biggest difference with Copernicus is that Google's images are really high quality. So I can zoom in, I can see all the individual cars, I can see how many windows there are on this building, all of the trees and all of these details that you would not be able to see on Copernicus. So if I zoom in here, like I can barely see a street. So I can like make out a building, but that's pretty. So on Google, you can see all of these details because the quality is much higher. But the frequency is lower. So the latest image from Almaty is from April this year, whereas Copernicus would be probably like from 2 days ago. Okay. So again, there's this differentiation. And sometimes when you're lucky, you might just get the date that you're looking for. So if I put in the Petropavlsk in Kazakhstan, again, one of the cities that was gravely hit by floods last year. Again, you can zoom in, you can see a lot of details. I can count all the windows, all the trees right here, all the cars, etc. And on the west of the city, you can see the Ishim River. So we can see the river quite long, some other little towns in between rivers, and etc. So let's, oh, did it disappear? Okay, cool. So you have an image from July this year, and we have an image from 20th of April 2024. So in April, there were big floods, and turns out Google also shared photos from this place. So how Google works is Google doesn't own any satellites. Like there are Sentinel satellites that are that you can see on Copernicus, like Planet has its own satellites, Maxar, etc. But Google, Yandex, maybe on Yandex, you've also seen like satellite images. They don't own any satellites. what they do is that they will buy satellite images from those providers and show it for free. They usually buy the higher quality ones and then choose the ones usually that they're just more, that there's more demand for. So if you look at New York City, it probably has more images than Almaty, or Almaty has more images than a very remote village in Kazakhstan, because that's how it works. And like Google will buy images like afterward. So for example, this flood, it happened in April. When I was looking at Google Earth Pro, like in April, like on 20th of April, this image was not available. And they only bought it a few months later. So a few months later, I checked it again. I could see that Google bought this image. I don't know why. Maybe a lot of people were looking up this place, hoping for an image, and Google took note of it. Or maybe it just happened randomly that, and luckily that it took image of the devastation. But at the end of the day, we do have an image from Google from the when the area was flooded, and you can see, zoom in and look at all the details, right? So you can see all the trees that were in. You can see all of these roofs. So again, like if I compare it to Copernicus, like you cannot see much, right? I mean, it's enough to see the floods, but here you can see all the individual houses. So this one might be like, if you're just sharing an image, then this one might be more powerful because you can see that this is like individual houses and their like livelihoods destroyed. So if I can zoom in here, again, you can see that all of the yards were filled with water too. So again, you'll get an image from Google only if you're lucky. It really depends if Google randomly decides to provide you with an image. And if it's something, if you want like historical data, it might be helpful for you. But if a flood has happened like 2 days ago, like 3 days ago, then you're less likely to find a Google image, maybe on like a few months later. So for that one, like Copernicus is still the first option. And the next one would be a planet. Again, like this is a paid tool, a little bit higher quality than Copernicus, but you don't need that quality. It can only be useful if planet took it on another day different from Copernicus. So Copernicus took a photo of the image, it's too cloudy, it was too cloudy that day. Next day, Planet took an image and it's not cloudy, so then it's perfect, okay? So Planet is only useful if only like Copernicus images was cloudy, okay? That's what I'd say. And the cloudiness, it does affect it a lot because in a lot of flood stories, floods happen due to like heavy rainfall. And the heavy rainfall comes with clouds. And in those images, you can like, since it's raining, since it's cloudy, you cannot see what's happening. And only afterwards, when it stops raining, you'll be able to see what happened. So this is the false color band, also very nice to see the difference and how much the water has overflown. Cool. And there is this tool called Giovanni. Very technical one, also belongs to NASA. So on Tuesday, I talked to you about NASA Worldview and NASA firms. So one is the satellite images, very low quality but frequent, and another is the fire data. But NASA also has a tool for rainfall data. So this is a tool that gives you a historical representation of clouds happening and rainfall. So this is from like Chinese stories, and the places where you can see the red is where a lot of rainfall was happening. So if you just need some nice visuals of how the clouds were moving, how the rainfall was moving, then this tool would be nice. I guess it's also like could be beneficial for the government officials from the emergency state actors to see like what is the direction of the clouds. So yeah, might be useful in there too. And then you can also calculate how much rainfall has fallen in that period of time. So it's a bit technical, but we have a nice article about that. So here you can see, for example, a cyclone happening, and you can see all of this, a very nice, beautiful visualization, how it's circling around this area. So the cyclone happening. What else is there? Yeah, and you can again look at the rainfall data. So and see, for example, in this example, in 2019, it had the precipitation rate that was 20 times higher than normal. Okay. And some other tools that you can do. I'm going to share the link with you. So if you're interested in this kind of data, you can read about this in article. So, and this was made by our researcher, environment researcher, Cornelia. It was done, if you're into environment research, I would really recommend looking up her and seeing what she's up to. Okay. And the next thing that we do is we look at the social media insights. Because again, those places can tell us more info on what has been happening. So here's an example from Beijing floods. This user posts on one of the Chinese social media apps that a bridge has fallen. So he shows the bridge here, and you can see that it has fallen. And what we try doing it is verifying that, because during the natural disasters, what happens a lot is a lot of old videos get resurfaced saying oh, this is the flood from this incident, when in fact it was from 10 years ago from a completely different place. So what we need to do is we need to geolocate it. So in this case, I would translate what's written in here. Maybe that gives you that gives me some clues. I would look at the description, at the commenters, and I think this one already showed me that the name of the town nearby. So I went there and I started looking for bridges, and was able to find this bridge. So on the bottom is the satellite image from I think Google. I can see a river here, which is dry completely, but I can see a bridge, and then I start comparing the details. So I'm sure this is the same place. So on the top are screenshots, are the stills from this video. Okay, it's the same thing. So I could see on the right, for example, that in this part, where is it? Yes, so you can see a frame here, an arc kind of thingy with an with this billboard kind of thingy that changes colors. And you can see the same thing here. And it also has this screen. You cannot see the screen because you're looking at it from the top, but you can see the shadow of it. So that's nice. On the furthest, you can see another billboard. And there's a power line that you can see this black line here. Anyway, a little bit of complex geolocation, but geolocating this one and looking at the lower quality images, I could see that this river was in fact overflown, and it does look like the bridge was collapsed. So these are the things that give you more insight on what's happening. So this will tell you that not only the floods have gotten into towns and submersion of these towns, they've also destroyed bridges, which again might make it more difficult to send rescue or deliver aid to these towns. And other things, in other cases, it might give you more idea of why it happened or what was the cause sometimes. So again, in this example of Russian Orsk, what we had seen just before, where is that? Let me find it. If you had it. So just before the floods happened, so how it happens is that it will not, usually it won't happen in one day. Usually with the rainfall or with the spring coming and snow melting, you'll see the rivers that they're expanding like a bit by bit. Okay, so they're expanding, and like local officials, they'll also be tracking the height of those rivers, right? So let me share with you this article. So in this case, what happened is that just a week before this floods have happened, the government official Kozupitsa, which was like a mayor, of course, he visited those rivers, and he did tell like everyone, do not be afraid of floods, do not evacuate, like everything will be fine. And they've also posted this image. So we could confirm that he was indeed in Orsk at that time, so near this river that was eventually overflown. And then 1 week later, like the floods happened, and like they overflown so much that it led to like multiple towns be living underwater. What else we noticed is that looking at the satellite images, we could see the exact places where the like embankments were breached. So here's like an image from the drone. Again, there are these embankments that like act as a wall, okay? Act as a wall like against like rivers. And you could see exactly the area when it was breached and from where like the flood has come through. So yeah, here's another breach here. And then again, it gives you more like of a story of where the breaches happened. And then like local journalists can investigate maybe this these embankments, maybe they were old, maybe they were built poorly, or or maybe there is some other reason that they were breached. So this way, again, there's potential for like other follow-up stories. But we, again, I focus on the open sources, and I'll just publish on like where exactly the breaches have happened. So yeah, this insights are also useful for further stories. I think in the Kazakh stories, let me see if we had any other social media posts. Nope, on the satellite images. So usually what we'll try to do is we'll try to do a look into some of the social images. So one thing we noticed this year, that starting this year, the AI videos of natural disasters are really booming. They are going viral. So previously, I would usually say like, no, AI hasn't really impacted my job. Like when there's an event happening, only old fakes would resurface. But this year, starting July, I could see that I guess it has become so easy to create these AI videos that they're being posted like a ton on the social media platforms. So here's an example. Like you can see, like I hope you can see clearly that it's an AI video. Like they're very dramatic, extremely dramatic, and like don't make much sense. But anyway, like maybe they don't make much sense to me, but for the others, they might look real. So here at that time, when I was looking at the floods in China, when I was searching for like footage that the locals took, for like that the witnesses took, I could see like majority of those images were like videos were AI. And this one, for example, reached like 18 million views. So that's what's been happening. So when you're looking into like social medias around floods or fires, just be aware that the AI videos are proliferating right now. So I think that's actually quite it. Do you have any questions? I'm gonna send you the links to the other stories. So if you want to look into floods, if you haven't done it before, I would really recommend just going through these articles and seeing how you found these things. So with plant, maybe it's impossible, but try going to like Copernicus, or maybe here, like try recreating this image on Copernicus of this Jewish village. We do have probably a link to this. Yeah, a link to this, and seeing what bands do for you and what kind of information you can find. So in general, if you want to get into investigation, the first recommendation would be just looking up an investigation and trying to do the same thing. Cool. There's a question. Does Plant also offer spectral images? No, Plant only shows you this kind of images that are, yeah, through color. So if you want to look at the weather images, so first of all, one thing I would recommend is Bellingcat Toolkit. I think it's, nope, maybe it's Bigcat Toolkit. Nope. Anyway, if you search for Bellingcat Toolkit, here it is. We do have a massive amount of resources with explanations on how to use them. So like tools that we use at Bellingcat. And there's this category here called Maps and Satellites. Let me click on the satellite. And here you can see like different things. So if you forget about what I've told you about Copernicus, you can click at this link and it will give you a nice explanation of what it is, what problems can it solve. So it's great for environment, but also for conflict, climate change, if it's free, and like any other things. So there's a guide to it, etc. And yeah, there are some other tools. I myself don't know all of them. So I do use Google Earth Engine and Google Earth Pro, for example. But here you can basically like look at more. So if you're looking into South Korea, for example, it turns out there is this map that's more relevant to South Korea and some other things. We have NASA Worldview, and one I'm trying to find is Umbra. So this one has the synthetic aperture radars, also called like SAR images. So this one will be exactly what you're looking for, Benedetta. So images with more details, they can look into, I don't know, like the difference between water, but even metal and other stuff. And there's a nice, yeah, description about that. So this one's a little bit more technical. I myself, I've been on trainings, but I myself have not used it just because we have data scientists. But let me give you an example. I think we've had it once. Maybe here. Oh, yeah. So this is what it looks like. So ones that I've seen at least, they are black and white because again, they use different radars. And one good thing about SAR images is that even if it's cloudy, you still get a result because these radars, they penetrate through clouds and you can see it like here's an after that all of these places, like all the places that are black is the river, okay? So all of these black places were the overflown bits. So again, it gives you like an extra, yeah, some just extra information on what has happened. So could be cool. And then it takes images, if I'm not mistaken, every day. So you get even more information from there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was very, very, very helpful. Thank you. Also for the Bellingcat kit. I didn't know it, so I will surely use and explore it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I'm glad you found it useful. But the toolkit is also great for anything else. So if you're looking into how to research companies, we also have um, nice list of different tools that we use. If you're looking into environment and wildlife, you have a different thing at all. So like Amazon rainforest, and a lot of different. So Global Fishing Watch, the popular one, flood. Oh, this one. So this one says that there's a visual tool to monitor river levels and forecast floods. So this is exactly what we need. Okay. So this is a new tool I haven't heard of, but again, there are a lot of tools out there in the world, and what you just need to is just start playing with it. So the ones that I usually use, I've already shown you, but it's definitely not everything that's out there. So I'd be curious what this tool does. So let me just see. Oh yeah, so this one gives you a forecast of the river levels, I suppose. So anyway, I'm going to share it with you so you can read it on your own, and maybe this one will be helpful to look into the flood forecasts. Okay, I think presentation-wise, that's it for me. And
thank you so much. I had one question about the tools that you're using. You usually at Bellingcat use free tools, and sometimes you just, for example, as you said, with data scientists, just invent new tools, right? Is it correct?
yeah,
And
exactly.
how do you find the problem, and do journalists do it, or just data scientists, they see the problem and they try to solve it? How does it work?
Perfect, thank you. So first of all, with general about tools, we mainly use free tools, but we do have access to some paid ones. So for example, we have access to a Planet. So similar to Copernicus, but like higher resolution. It's very nice. Like for environmental use, it's not very nice because like you can get everything from Copernicus, but we look a lot at conflict monitoring. We look at conflicts about the buildings that are destroyed or the military units that are moving, maybe tanks, etc. For those ones, you need a higher quality image. And for us, it is worth paying like 2,000 euros a month for that one. So, or for like we do use some facial recognition tools, for example, when investigating people, we might pay some money to get some databases or like even finances, because for this, a lot of like there are companies that will give you oh, I'm forgetting their names, that will give you a lot of like documentation about different companies, their finances, etc., for like $20. And you might also get that. So I'd say, yeah, we usually, like most of the tools we use are free, but then those maybe like 10-20% will be the paid tools. And yeah, we make our own tools. So if you know how to code or a little bit, we also make tools that we share on GitHub. Most of them are just command line tools, so they won't have a nice interface. But some of them will actually. So there is Shadow Finder. And this comes how we built the tools. It's it's a team effort. So I know a bit of coding, so I do understand what is possible. So I can just talk to my data science team and say like, hey, like, would this be possible? Or that would be nice for me, etc. And sometimes, so with this one came from a volunteer actually. We do have a nice Discord channel if you're into a Discord. So you have this big space for a lot of open source researchers where they just talk to each other. And one person just said, oh, like it would be cool to make a tool where you can track shadows. So basically, I think we do have a shadow finder tool. Okay. I think there is a, or maybe not, if it's just a Google Colab version. But basically, like if you have a photo of some place and you see that there's shadow, sometimes the shadow, I don't know, let's just say it's very long, and you would know like this long shadow would not happen in, I don't know, in Kyrgyzstan, let's say. So in which parts of the Earth you would have such a shadow? And it will give you like an idea that it's in this circle, the shadow length would be possible. So yeah, it's just like a simple, nice tool that helps with the geolocation. Again, if you see an image and if you see a shadow of it and it's like shadow's length, so you compare it to the person or like an object, and then this tool will give you an idea like where this could have been taken. So if it was taken like at 12 p.m. So these are the things. Or like lots of other random stuff. We have a tool that Telegram phone number checker. So if you have like 20 like phone numbers and you need to check their Telegram account, it might be quite cumbersome for you to go to Telegram, save a contact to see what they look like, etc. So we made just a quick tool that where you can just type in the phone number and then it will tell you a result right away if it has a Telegram account, what's their ID, etc. So we'll send some. So it's definitely a team effort. We do always have to work together, like with the journalists and data scientists, because sometimes like journalists might ask for a tool, but then it's impossible to build, or vice versa. Like a data scientist might like create a tool, but then it sounds nice, but then like no one uses it. And that's why we always have to be, talking to each other in that case.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting. Colleagues, if you don't have questions, I think that is it for today. And thank you so much, Tanush, for sharing really interesting, great tools. I'll also try to play around with it. I hope everyone will also try it and try the tools in the toolkit. And if you have questions or comments, you can also reach out to us. And Tanush also sent her email last time, and here in the chat also today. If you have questions, you can also reach out. Maybe you have ideas to investigate, maybe environmental issues in your region. So I hope you will find the ways to collaborate. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think we can finish. If you have more questions, you can always reach out to me too. Have a good evening and nice weekends. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.